Hello, and welcome to the Ticking Along podcast, where we talk about Tourette's and our other life experiences. If you'd like to be on the show or have any comments, you can contact me at tickingalong@gmail.com. That's TICINGLONG@gmail.com. Now let's get into the show. The U.S., the country was built so much on kind of doing things yourself and going out and making your own place in the world and all that. And so it's not, we have a mindset not so much of helping others, but making things happen. So kind of the American dream is, you get up, you kind of just go out and make things work no matter what comes your way. But I mean, there's still a lot of help in the U.S. Around it. I don't know exactly how well our disability checks and stuff would work with. So I don't know if someone with a severe case of Tourette's could get on disability easily or not. I would imagine it probably would be a problem or a struggle.
Okay. Yeah.
What's living in South Africa? Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for the question, and thanks for inviting me on another podcast show. It's wonderful to be here again. You know what? I'm glad we're actually having this discussion now, because I've been chatting to my wife during the week, and I'm very much an emotional thinker, where she's more level-headed. And I said to her, I hope with this podcast we talk about the country, because we are actually in such a difficult situation at the moment, where I want to speak honestly about it. And I can honestly say, from a point of view as a 42-year-old white male in South Africa, to live in South Africa is incredibly, incredibly difficult.
And I saw that documentary that you had posted about with the South African farmers. I see why you kind of gave it a warning for, if you're going to watch this, make sure that you're aware that it's got some pretty brutal depictions in it, and that you wouldn't recommend children to watch it. I was kind of shocked about what was going on down there, and kind of how much it seemed like they didn't want to bring awareness to it.
No, well, just the same thing and I'm glad you watched it, and thank you so much for watching those documentaries, because I post them because we need to bring awareness, just like China. And now I hear from my friend who does my website in Ireland that a lot of countries are not talking, spreading accurate information regarding the COVID-19 coronavirus. And that is the same thing that is happening with South Africa and South African news, is that they have got a hold. And me being involved in journalism and photography and that for many years, I've got factual proof of it and evidence of how the government doesn't allow certain things to come out of the country. Like, you probably, and please, I want an answer on this, you probably don't know how bad our farm murders are in this country.
I didn't hear. I really didn't hear anything about it until you said something about it, and until I watched that documentary. But I mean, I don't really hear much about a lot of things that go on outside of my immediate area. I don't watch a lot of world news, but then I don't even watch a lot of countrywide news. Most of the news I watch is kind of local. But even still, I do hear about, certain things going on outside the U.S., but no, and you would think that would be something that they kind of would want to bring awareness to.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do in a sense from my point of view. And okay, I can't stop farm murders, and I'm not a farmer. And there's a lot about the farming that I don't agree with. Like the farmers in this country are only paying their workers between 60 and 120 Rand a day, which works out to 2,000 to 3,500 Rand a month. And it's labor, they're working from 5 in the morning till 6 at night. So,
Hmm.
I don't agree with that. And I'm a vegetarian, and I don't agree with the way the farmers treat animals and that. But where I try to bring awareness for South Africa, and I hope we can talk about this, is from the point of a South African male. And if I can say South African white male, I'm a liberal. I was brought up in apartheid. You know what apartheid is? I'm just saying that so
No.
other people care. Apartheid was for many years before the ANC became in power. The apartheid was the Afrikaner South African government made it illegal for black people to mix with white people.
Okay.
They weren't allowed to go to beaches. They weren't allowed to ride on public buses. They weren't allowed to go to movies. Everything black was not allowed in a white suburb, and it
And
was
what
a
year is
terrible
this?
thing. That happened. It came at apartheid started, I think, in the 50s or
Uh,
60s, and it ended in 1992.
okay. Wow.
But I'm very against that. So I'm a liberal. I was all for black people and white people living in harmony. But
Yeah.
my problem with South Africa today is that I'm a 43-year-old male, 42-year-old male, and at the moment I don't have an income. Um, I live on I can live on less than 4,000 Rand a month, and we are being classified almost as poor whites. My wife has a master's degree. She studied for 9 years. She is highly intelligent, and she cannot get a job because of we can't get anywhere because of the color of our skin. So my problem with South Africa is that there is just no future for us here, and there is no help. Like now during lockdown, we both can't run our businesses. So, between you and me and all the millions of people that are going to hear, is we are two. My wife is a highly qualified biochemist, and I am qualified photographer and motivational speaker and all of that. But we're sitting without any income because we can't get support from the government. But yet, people who are of a different race can get help from the government.
Yeah. And what is your country doing as far as the COVID-19 stuff? Like I know
Well,
they've issued lockdown and all that.
um, you know what? We had I had a whole lot of respect for the president, who is Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. In when the coronavirus started happening in South Africa, he actually put us in lockdown very quickly. So we've been in lockdown for 40 days now.
Uh-huh.
And so when I say lockdown, the whole country was in complete lockdown except essential services. So shopping, food distribution, medical, dental, and pharmaceutical. But now we have gone, as of yesterday, we've gone into level 4 lockdown, which means some people can go back to work, like um, cell phone companies, Wi-Fi companies, car manufacturers, and all of that. But
Hmm.
people who have their own businesses, like hairdressers, beauticians, barbers, photographers, home tutorers like myself and my wife, we've been told that we might only be able to open our businesses again at the end of August,
Oh,
which
okay.
is my friend and everybody listening, if you can understand the fear that is in me as a 42-year-old man
Hmm.
who has to look after his family, knowing that we've been in lockdown already for over a month. So we had a nest egg that could cover 1 or 2 months. But after this month,
Yeah.
we are in absolute dire straits. And I've approached the government to say, my wife has a very good business. I have a subpar, just above average business. Can we not get financial aid? And we both have not even qualified for the simple grant of 350 Rand a month. So the government isn't even prepared to give us that. So what can we do?
Yeah, and that's pretty crazy because I mean over here, they shut down all but non-essential businesses, but in that, at least in my state, as long as your business was under kind of 10 employees or given work area, you were still allowed to operate. So I work just myself, and then I go out and I'll be in an area that might have two or three other people in it. So I was able to just continue working, pretty much as normal. I did cut back the amount of people I was meeting with, and try to do everything just over the phone and stuff. Under our essential businesses, it kind of allowed for more small businesses to continue working. We had to close down all of our pretty much all the restaurants had to close except for takeout. There was no dining in at any of the restaurants, and then all clothing stores were closed and everything else. So the only things that were open were, as far as like stores and stuff, the only thing that were open were um, grocery stores. So Walmart stayed open, uh, so you could really get pretty much anything you needed through either Walmart, or if Walmart doesn't have it, you had to go online and order it through like Amazon. Um, and there were a few stores that were doing like pickup items, so you could order online and get it picked up. But and then our government, because they shut down all the businesses and stuff, they were issuing people a they amped up the unemployment. So if you were unemployed because of the coronavirus, you could get an extra $600 a week through the unemployment. So for us, we had we were getting more income during the coronavirus, and it's still kind of going. They're just now starting to open things back up, than we were before the coronavirus.
And I love what you say there, because that is the point, that I tried to make. Is the first thing our president did is he gave people who aren't allowed to work, like, the people with medical problems and the
Hmm.
old age people, he increased their monthly income,
Okay.
which I'm happy for them, because I don't want to see anybody suffer. And it's such a little bit of money anyway. A normal old person gets a monthly grant of 1,800 Rand a month. So if we translate it, it's $1,000, or it's $100
Yeah,
or
but
less than a month.
yeah,
But now he's increased their pay. He's increased the pay of the people that have like illegitimate children or children out of wedlock. He's increased their pay, which my argument is why is he giving them more money when they aren't being affected, because
yeah,
they aren't allowed to work anyway. So why isn't that money being given to businesses or to people? And I'm only using my wife and I as an example, but we aren't alone in this journey. A lot of our acquaintances and our friends also say to us, they can't pay their worker because they can't cut gardens, or they can't do driving lessons or something. So there's a lot of South Africans who have been, good citizens all their life. Like my wife, I haven't always been a good person, but my wife is an exceptionally good person.
yeah,
Why does she have to suffer? This morning, and this is very personal information, but I want people to understand, is about a week ago, her sister gave us a little bit of money to help soften the blow. That money was taken by the bank. We didn't even see it. Then this morning, she gets paid for a job again. we didn't see that money because the bank took it. So where my problem is with the government is, why haven't they told the banks a month ago, listen, you're not allowed to take money from people at the moment because they don't have an income. So all the bills have continued having to be paid, but yet we're not getting an income. But the people who are getting an income are the people that shouldn't even be working. So, yeah.
Yeah, so you guys, I know here we've had a lot of places say that they'll kind of um, put a stay on you know paying. They won't make you, they won't shut you down on any of your payments and stuff. And like I know our water and electric company, they've said that they're not going to shut your electricity off or your water off because you haven't paid. And a lot of places for like rent or mortgage have said, hey, we'll allow you to kind of pause payments or um, kind of they won't take any action against you not paying your payments these couple months. Uh, and for your rent, you'll have to pay it back later, but your mortgage, you can actually get it kind of paused and pushed back months. So you can have your mortgage extended to allow for these couple months where you're not making as much income. Um, so that kind of and there's been a lot of companies that have kind of allowed that and kind of said, "Hey, we realize you're not making money, and we realize that you can't that it wasn't your fault that you're not making money. So we'll allow you to um, we won't take action against you because you're not able to pay right now."
I wish that would happen, yeah. And, I've been in a very bad place the last week or two. Firstly, the Tourette's is doing things that I don't want it to do. But secondly, is like, I've been a complete patriot to this country, even representing them on a sports level when I was younger. And just sitting back and seeing how selfish we have become as a country. We owe people money because we rent property. We have our car is paid off, but there's insurance and everything. Not one company or not one entity has called me, and not even the person we rent from has
Mm-hmm.
called us and said, listen, we're all going through this tough time. Can we make an arrangement that maybe if you can't pay rent, we use your deposit? Or if you can't pay rent, when do you think you can pay us back in full once the country's open again?
Yeah.
Because we can have access to money, but it's access to money that might only come in a year or two, because it's policies and that. So it's not that we will never pay, it's even going to get a loan now. Would not be a stupid thing because we have money. We just can't have access to it now. But nobody in South Africa, a lot of businesses have been kind and, they're paying their people while they're at home and that. But from our front,
Mm.
our car insurance has carried on, our house insurance has carried on, our medical has carried on. So we've got to pay those bills, but our income is at a standstill. So yeah.
So what's kind of like the cost of living over there? So like what do you pay for like rent and all of that?
Okay, well, I will put us in middle class. So we have. I don't like calling it lower class because in my eyes nobody's lower than I am. So I will call it the class of people that have to like rely on government grants and that they, the poorer people, they have their government house and everything, and then
Okay.
you get the middle class where I would call us a few months ago middle upper middle class. So we live in a little town in the Karoo, it's a part of South Africa, which is like a desert. It's like your farming culture and all of that. We live in a
Mhm.
very small town called Craddock. So why I mention that is because living in these small towns is a lot cheaper than a city. So living in Craddock, a small town, we rent a house for including electricity and water. Our rent is about 4,500 rand a month.
Right.
And then our car, to pay for our car insurance, is 1,000 rand a month, and petrol, as you probably know, is 16 rand a liter.
So on your insurance is how much? I,
Insurance is, to give you the exact number, it's about 902 rand a month.
so it's like $50. Okay.
Yeah, probably just a little bit,
Yeah,
about
yeah.
fifty
I've got
dollars.
a calculator. I've got a kind of converter in front of me, so I can kind of understand
Okay, good.
a little better. Um, yeah, that's. I mean, I pay for my insurance, car insurance. I've got two cars, and I pay about 100 a month on that, so that's not too different. Um, and you said gas was how much?
The
Petrol?
petrol price now has gone down a little bit because of the coronavirus, but on average, we're paying 15 rand a liter. 80 cents a liter. That's 80 cents US.
Right now our gas is at $1.40, $1.39 a gallon. A US gallon is about 3.7 liters.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes,
so
that's
that,
cheap.
so that's and it was up at two it was up at like 250 before the coronavirus started.
Can I ask you a question on the price of money? Like, um, would can a person in America, like, is $1,500, is that a good salary in America? I'm talking about a monthly salary, not a weekly salary.
Um, so to cover just our bills, we need about 1,400 a month. So we need 1,400 a month just to cover basic bills. And that's in a smaller town where rent is cheaper. Um, and that's about the only thing that you can kind of get cheaper here. Um, and rent's going to be your kind of main expense. Um, so um, making I would say a decent amount of money for a family to live on would be around 40,000 a year or more. Um, that allows you kind of your um, kind of middle class, still still working, but you're still allowed. You say well, able to go out to eat or kind of really do fun things and not have to worry about money so much. Um, so that would be 40,000 divided by 12. Um, so you're looking at
So about
about 3,000,
3,000.
3,000.
I'm going to give you an example of, and this is why I've been trying to, like, either with my wife's teaching and her master's degree, and also with my motivational speaking and photography, and that her sister is a teacher, and she's been working, out of the country for years now. She goes to China and she goes all over, but she goes to places where she gets paid in US dollars, and
Mm-hmm.
she earns nice money. But why I'm asking those questions? Because if I had to say get $1,500 from America, that would cover my expenses, and it would cover my all my expenses now, and I would be able to go on an insurance, a medical insurance, which I can't do now because it's too expensive. So only my wife is on it. And then we would still have, like, 7 to 8,000 rand to save a month. So $1,500 would give us 28,000 South African rands, which would class us in way above middle class. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
that's the huge comparison in the dollars and the rand.
Yeah, and over here, I mean, depending on where you live, 1,500 could either last you a month or it could pay rent. So that, I mean, there's if you go down to like Nashville, you're looking at paying 1,000 or more a month in rent for just like a studio apartment. Um, and so it depends on where you're at. But I mean, it would 1,500 would be 1 month of expenses for me. Um, so it's definitely dependent on where in the country you are, especially if you're out in California, that may not even pay your rent.
Mm,
Um, it's it's just America is such a big country and we have such a big difference in um, expenses that it kind of depends on where you're at.
yeah.
Um,
You see what is so interesting with me is like I'm looking at $1,500 and then looking at, oh, that also covers our monthly expenses.
mhm.
But with the money you've got in the States, bringing it into South Africa, your quality of life can be, I'm not joking, 10 times better. If you are getting 30,000 Rand a month, which is $1,650, you're getting
Uh-huh.
30,000 Rand a month. If you're getting 30,000 Rand a month in the Cradock, like a town like we are in, you are going to be classed as rich. You're going to have a good
Yeah.
quality of life. And sadly, South Africa is such a violent place that you have to you have to live in certain areas, and when you live there, you have to have a built-in alarm system. You have to have electric gates. And when I say electric, I mean shocking electric, like electric fences.
Yeah.
You need to have a lot of people have roaming security on their property and that, but you can't do that you you're poor. When I'm saying poor, if you're living on like 3,000-4,000 rand a month.
Yeah.
So you know, I always say to somebody who has a job paying dollars, but they're living in South Africa, has got their bum in the butter because they can live the best life in South Africa and they can afford it easily.
And where you're at, the temperatures and stuff, what's kind of like the general weather that you guys have down there
You know what? Living in South
or
Africa,
climate?
I always feel very bad when I talk about the bad part of it because it's actually the most beautiful place on earth. And I would say that, I will say that time and again, we have the most beautiful climate. So where we live in the Karoo, we are probably the hottest part of the country, one of the hottest parts. So our average temperature in summer, and it's a dry heat, is between 35 and 40 degrees, but it can get up
Uh,
regularly to 40, 42, 43. And then in winter, the coldest we will get during the day is maybe 7, 8 degrees, but then at night it can maybe go to just below. But that is in the Karoo, where the other areas are a lot milder temperatures. For at least 2 months of the year, it doesn't go under 35 degrees.
95 degrees.
Yeah, Fahrenheit.
Huh. Yeah.
No, it gets hot.
Well,
It gets really hot.
yeah, that is
It's
hot, but you're saying it is dry.
oh,
That
very
is
dry.
dry.
Yeah, it's not a
So,
humid. If you go to a place in Durban, if you look on the map of Africa, it's called the Natal Coast, and that it's on your right hand side. They along the coast. They also get incredibly hot temperatures like 30, 35, but the humidity, it feels like you walk
Oh,
in water because it's so hot and humid.
well, that's one reason why I wouldn't want to live down in like Florida, because it's so humid down there, and it gets and it's several degrees warmer down there than it is up in Tennessee, and it's even it's humid enough in Tennessee to where anything above you know once your body kind of gets used to it into the summer, anything above 80, 85 degrees feels just unbearable. But and you just covered in sweat, so you end up just not not having any fun. But um, yeah, we our because our temperatures in the summer can get to you know 100 degrees Fahrenheit, or occasionally into 100, and I think 106 occasionally. I mean those uh, it's far and few between when we have days over 100, but we do get days where it's 95, or our highs are 95 or so, um, and it's humid. We got like 60% humidity, 60 to 80% humidity. Um, so we hear about people over in like Arizona where you get it's constantly over 100 degrees over there in the summer, and but they're like, well, it's a dry heat, but if it's over 100 degrees, it still feels hot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like our climate here, because you get the kind of rounded amount of seasons. In the winter it gets cold, and we don't get a lot of snow. I don't think we got like any snow this year. We got well, it was snowing, but none of it stuck, so we didn't even get a time where the ground was covered in snow.
But the other day,
And
your
by covered
video,
in snow, like an inch.
you were making a video the other day, and you almost got me in tears because it looked so beautiful. You were on your way back from a job or something, and you were driving,
Oh
and the camera was showing your window, and then all of a sudden you
yeah,
said, "Oh, it's starting to snow." And just the weather outside, your car at that time looked so beautiful. And my other subscribers in America send me videos of their snow and that. And that's one thing that I would love to experience is snow.
yeah, and we get enough snow here to kind of um, you can see it, you can look at it. There's not really we don't get enough to like really build a snowman, except for occasionally. The last couple years, we've had times where we had like 5, 6 inches of snow, which I know people in the north are gonna be laughing at that because Michigan will get. I've got family up in Michigan, and they'll get feet of snow, and still going about their days. Where here, if there's a chance of snow, if there's like a 50% chance of snow, schools are going to be closed the next day. Um, and a lot of it's because um, the roads will get snow on them. The snow will melt and then refreeze, and then there'll be sheets of ice on the road.
Okay.
So then that causes problems with you not being able to stop, and people, because it doesn't snow very often here. People aren't used to driving in snow and on ice and stuff. And driving on snow is not as much of a problem as the ice. Um, but yeah, no, we get a good, well-rounded seasons here, and so in the winter it gets cold into I mean, we'll get a couple days in the teens, and um, sometimes in the single digits, but typically it's I don't know 30 around 30, so around 0 degrees Celsius. Um, and then in the summer it gets to be in the 90s. Um, so it's kind of got a full spectrum of temperature. Um, and then yeah, the landscape around where I live, um, yeah, Tennessee is known for being very hilly and having a lot of hills. So when you're driving, you're going up and down hills, and you got these beautiful areas. What I really like is where we've gone through and cut into the hills and into the rock, and you can see this big wall of rock to either side of you when you're driving down the road. Um, and there's a couple areas where I drive um, down the interstate, going into towards Nashville. There's one area where you have this just massive hill that you come down, and then as you're coming down, you've got hills on either side where they've cut into rock and covered in trees. And then when you come down to the bottom of the hill, you have these big hills to either side, just covered in trees, and it's just the landscaping around here is just very very beautiful. Whereas as compared to places like Indiana and stuff like that, where it's just flat. There's you can just you get on some roads and you can just see for miles. It's nothing but farmland, and you just see endlessly. And I'm like, it's hard to drive those roads because you're just sitting there and nothing's changing.
Yeah.
Whereas around here you've got constant hills and you can't see, but it's it's rare that you see a mile down the road.
If you want to go to Nashville from your house, how long does it take to drive you?
Um, so to get to downtown Nashville, I'm looking at about an hour, maybe, 50 minutes.
And from your house
Um,
to New York?
you're looking at a drive of 13 hours and 20 minutes.
Sure. And if you were to get there on public transport, excluding an aeroplane, how would you get there?
You wouldn't.
Oh, you wouldn't.
I don't think I mean, there's not really a way to, um, you know, we don't have, we have some trains, that you might be able to take from areas. They were wanting to, add some stops, from Nashville. I think they were wanting to add a stop from Nashville down to Atlanta. But it's not, our country is not made for public transport, especially long distance. So we have, like, in our major cities, we have bus routes and stuff, and then our major countrywide major cities will have trains and metros. So New York and places like that will have uh, you know uh, subways and metros and stuff like that. But the vast majority, you're either gonna drive, or you're gonna get on a plane and then rent a car whenever you get there.
Okay.
And usually I drove down to New Orleans, and that was oh I think it was something like a 9 or 10 hour drive, plus the stop. So, um, yeah, you're looking at a 12-hour drive, um, from the time you leave to the time you get there. Once you add in a couple hours for getting gas and eating, and taking a couple breaks, um, and I did that all in one day. So I left at about midnight, or 1 a.m., and I got down there. Uh, I don't know. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Uh, and our driving that we do here is just, um, it's not uncommon to drive, an hour if you want to go somewhere. that wouldn't be really a long drive. It's not really a long drive unless it's well, depending on what it's for. If it's a if you're going to like just to go to a store or something, um, a long drive would be something over an hour. Um, but if you're going somewhere for a vacation, it's not a long drive unless it's over like 4 or 5 hours. So driving is just kind of a part of living in America, and pretty much, especially in my city, you have to have a car. If you don't have a car, it's gonna cause problems with getting to and from work and getting groceries and all that.
What is your city called?
There are a few
Sorry?
people. It's Portland, Tennessee.
Or
And it's a smaller city in the north middle Tennessee.
can I ask you a question off the topic of shopping centers and that? Sorry, I've just noticed it I watch quite a few different YouTube channels and that, and I've noticed how guns, and this is without getting into a big debate about guns, but how everybody seems to have a gun in America. Is that a legitimate statement to make, or is it easy to get a gun there?
I would say the vast majority of Americans don't own a gun. In the South, in the South, you're going to have a higher population of people with guns. But like, yeah, up in like New York or California, even Florida, a lot of people won't own guns. But in where I live, I'm in a more kind of hunting culture and a culture where we're kind of into shooting guns and stuff. So I know people who own, several guns. They'll own, I don't know, 5 to 10 guns.
Okay.
And so that a lot of people will carry a handgun, so they'll have a handgun on their person as they're out, and then they'll have guns that they'll go shooting with, whether that be a rifle or shotguns and stuff like that. But our country as a whole is kind of shifted away from gun culture, but the South is still in that gun culture kind of area. But to get a gun, you have to go through a background check, and you can't have any criminal history or certain psychological blemishes on your record or whatever.
Where is the South?
So the South would be, and it depends on who you ask. But I would say you're going to be looking at Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, North Carolina, Kentucky, Virginia, and Louisiana. I would say not Florida.
Okay.
So Florida is the very southern part of the U.S., kind of sticks out into the ocean. But I would say that's not a part of the South, because so many people from other parts of the U.S. move down there, especially for retirement. So it doesn't have the same culture there as the rest of the South.
And what is a hillbilly?
A hillbilly? So that would be, I guess you're probably, another word similar would be kind of like redneck. So someone who's kind of hodgepodges things together, fixes things with duct tape, and stuff like that.
Okay. You were, you say you do boat repair work, which I've found very interesting. Is there an ocean near you, or do you do is boating like big on lakes and dams and all of that there?
So what I work on is the Cumberland River is where most of my work is on, and that comes through the middle of Tennessee, kind of going um, east to west. And yeah, there's a lot of boating on the rivers down here.
Okay. Do you do boating? Do you enjoy water skiing or boating?
Um, I don't really go out on boats all that much. I've had a few of my customers offer to give me to take me out on their boats and stuff like that. But I don't have my own boat and I don't really go out as much. Um, but I do occasionally go out, and I've gone out with my grandparents, and we've rented a pontoon boat and kind of one of those rafts that you can kind of pull behind the boat and kind of hold on to while you're laying down, and you just go over the wake and kind of get lifted up in the air and thrown off uh, and stuff like that. Um, but I don't do any like you know, I don't do any water skiing or anything like that, wakeboarding.
What do you do for fun? Like there, you're a young couple. What do you do for fun?
Um, well, my wife likes to go to a place called Game Galaxy, and it's a arcade that you can go to in one of the malls down here. And they've got you pay like $10 for their day pass, and you can go in and play all the arcade games or and any of that. And so instead of having the arcade games set up on a quarter system, they're just all set up as free to play, and you just pay the $10 for the day pass, and you can play as long as you want.
Okay.
So that's one of the things. And then going to movies. The movie theater that I go to, it was like they recently upped their prices. Well, I think they upped the prices last last winter or summer, and so it's a little more expensive. But uh, when I was going there, it was like $20 for two people to go to the movies and get a popcorn. Now it's probably up to like 25 for going to the movies once you add in popcorn and everything. But it's like I don't know, 650 per person for a matinee
So,
movie. So as long as you don't go to like a later movie, it's not too expensive. Um, and then a lot of what for your regular entertainment and stuff, you're going to be just on the internet. So and then gaming and stuff. I'm trying to get together my all my gaming consoles and get that connected to my TV and get that set up to where um, so I haven't want to really set up anything fancy because I'm planning on moving as soon as I can and getting my own house. Uh, so I don't want to set anything up that's going to be like long lasting because it may not work in my new house. So I finally decided, well, I'll just get a little shelf and put all the systems on there, and then just deal with that for now. So I've got a couple different PlayStations. So I've got the PlayStation 2, which came out in early 2000s, the PlayStation 3, can't remember where that came out, and then the PlayStation 4, which is the newest console so far. And then I'm getting games set up on my computer, and I've got a couple controllers and stuff. So playing video games, and then watching stuff on YouTube and stuff like that.
that's
And then in our area, we have a lot of Pokemon Go stops, and So me and my friends have kind of gotten back into
What is
Pokemon
that?
Go and playing that. So with Pokemon, you have these little animals that you can go out and capture, and so you go out and you collect them, and then you go through and you try to get the goal of the game is to capture all the different types of Pokemon and find them by in Pokemon Go. You go out into around parks or anywhere in your city, and they'll just pop up on your screen on your phone, and you can throw a Pokeball at them to capture them, and you try to get your collection of all the Pokemon complete, and to build your team, and then you go out and with these Pokemon you go out and fight with them, and try to take over arenas, um, and so and then you can level up your Pokemon by going to different Pokestops. And so a Pokestops would be like your landmarks around your town or in the area. So in our park, we've got 5 or 6 different Pokestops, and then in the square, we've got 5 or 6 different Pokestops. Um, and kind of the idea of the game is to actually to go out, get exercise, and and have something fun to do. There's a similar game to it that kind of it's based off of, which is Ingress, where you go and walk around and try to capture towers. But yeah, it's I with the Pokemon you can kind of collect different Pokemon, and I tend to like the more there's different styles, and I my wife likes to find all the cute ones and add those to her team and stuff. But it's a game where you can get up and move around and not be stuck inside.
Tell me this gaming, is it expensive to buy a game console and games in America?
Um, the newer ones, yes. So my sister's boyfriend just bought her a PlayStation 4 Pro. So that's the higher end version of the PlayStation 4, and that cost like almost $500. Uh, and then um, and then you got to buy a game. New games are like $60. Um, and then if you want a second controller, they're now like $40. So it's expensive if you're into playing new games. But if you get like a used version of a game or a used console or something like that, you're looking at um, well, depending on how old you want to go, but like a PlayStation 2 you can get for I don't know $100, and then games are like $5 a game. Uh, so the older games aren't bad, but the newer games are definitely expensive.
Yeah, that is my greatest dream. Is so if you ever want to get rid of one of your gaming consoles, you're welcome to send it to South Africa. I'm dying to get. I don't like these like war games and all of that, but I was telling my wife the other day I would love one of these gaming consoles where I could play like cricket on or soccer or rugby or something like a sports game. But a gaming console, yeah, is so
Yeah, well,
expensive. Like I don't know, Cricket 19. I don't know where you play that. Is it Xbox or PlayStation?
probably on both, or I don't
But
know, maybe
I've been
PlayStation.
looking
I don't
around
know.
for, but it's so expensive a gaming console. So yeah, you're looking at like a new PlayStation. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
and
5,000.
you'd have to download them. There's games that you can play online, um, but any of the games you're going to play online aren't going to be the high end graphics, or they're going to be closer to they'll be more like arcade games you can do online. But like if you want like a full fledged like sports game or RPG or something like that, you're gonna have to download it, and you're probably looking about 20 gigs of storage to do that. And the computer I got now, I didn't pay a lot for. I paid $100 for it, or less than $100 for it, um, on eBay, uh, and it's a Dell. I think it's a Dell Latitude. But what it was is I'm pretty sure it was uh, used for business use, because these Dell Latitudes, um, companies buy them a lot for their employees, and then once the company's done with them, they just sell them back for super
Okay.
cheap. So these Dell Latitudes you can get pretty cheap. You just have to get a the newest model you can afford, really, with the highest CPU. So you want something, I don't know, around 3 gigahertz.
Okay. Sure.
But they're probably the cheapest computer that you can get for gaming.
Sure.
Yeah, they get expensive. But I went through. I bought the PlayStation 4 for 250 last year, I think, and I've only got one game for it. So it probably wasn't the best financial decision to buy a game console just to play one game. But eventually I'll get more games for it, so it's all good. And uh, I don't play like, I haven't really played like at all in the last year, really. But mainly because I haven't had it connected to my TV, and it was anytime I want to play it, I'd have to go get it and find all the cords and then hook it up. And so that's why I've kind of bought this $15 bookshelf here, and that way I can leave it sitting somewhere, and that way if I ever want to play, I can just plug it in.
And how do you
start
get
it.
games on your computer? Can anybody do that? Or how do you get games like on your laptop or your computer?
So I just started looking at that, and so you can get emulators for older consoles, but if you wanted to play like a newer game, you would use Steam, and it's a library of computer games, and they kind of have pretty much all the newer computer, all the games that are going to be compatible with the computer will be on there. And they have some free to play games. And then I've got a USB controller that's kind of a PlayStation style controller, because I don't like playing with a mouse and keyboard. And I just connect that through a USB to my computer and can play on there. You have to have a higher end computer to be able to play it, or what I'll call a higher end computer. You can't just get a standard laptop. So the one I've got actually has a i7 processor, like 3 gigahertz. And then my main problem with the computer I have now is it doesn't have a big hard drive, so it's only got 100 gigs of storage. And then nowadays games take up, I don't know, at least 15 gigs up to 60, 100 gigs maybe. So they can get very the file sizes can get pretty large. So you have to. I've got an external hard drive that I'm going to use as storing all the games on.
So do you have to download these games, or can you play them like online?
And then for like week-long trips, would those be common?
Yeah, if you can afford it, because hospitality has become so expensive here, because a lot of international people, want to come this side. So, yeah, if we can afford it and you can get out of work or go away, then a week away, definitely. Then again, we would definitely look to go into, we like Jeffreys Bay because My wife likes walking on the sea, and I, of course, love being in the sea, like surfing and that. And then otherwise, a place called Wilderness or George, Neisner. So yeah, that can definitely happen, but I would say only once, maybe at the most twice a year.
But yeah, so I mean, over in South Africa, I mean, are vacations common, or
Are you
how
talking
common?
about holidays, public holidays, or you talk? No, we've
Yeah.
got.
Well, like going out for, I don't know, a week off at somewhere, or even a weekend off
Oh, okay. No,
somewhere.
yeah, that is something we've always wanted to do, and we try to do when we can. Is you go away for a weekend, and then you either go camping, meaning you take your tent and you go to a caravan park and you put your
Yeah.
tent up. But I don't know if my wife really likes camping that much, so we go to a place called Jeffreys Bay, which is a big surfing spot, and then we book into like a bed and breakfast or a guest house, or if we go for more than 2 days, then a self catering place. But yeah, that is definitely something we enjoy doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think most people here are used to a standard of taking like a 1 week, uh, possibly a 2 week vacation once a year. I would say probably a 1 week of vacation a year. Um, Now, if you're making a lot more money, you'll take more than that. Um, but what I would call the standard kind of normal person would be, you know, go off for a 1 week vacation. Whether they take that in the summer or winter, kind of depends on what job they're in. Um, I would take mine in the winter. Um, my parents used to do theirs the week of Christmas to New Year's, um, and so they would go off during that time because boating, in boating and stuff. That's the one time a year that I'm almost guaranteed to not have any work, is from Christmas to New Year's, because either people have already spent all their money on Christmas shopping, or they're using their
Okay.
boats, which you would think would be kind of weird, but okay, if you want to use your boat in 30-degree weather, go right ahead. Or 0-degree weather, go right ahead.
Yeah, no, when this everybody tries
It's
to go away in summer here, so they try. The biggest time to go away is from the 15th of December to like the 9th of January. That is when it's summer and everybody can go to the beach and all of that.
Yeah. See, that's the time that I would be taking my vacation, except for it's winter for me.
Oh, oh yes, of course, yes.
um, yeah, and what I would like to do, if I'm going to go on a vacation, I'd like to do cruising. So going out on a cruise ship, but that's uh, not a cheap thing to do. So I mean, you're looking, oh, it, at least, you know 2,000. You're probably looking at least $2,000 to do that, for a couple. Um, so it's not really cheap. And I haven't taken a vacation um, this year or last year, because I've been saving up for a house. So I've just been working through. Um, once I get a house and get settled in there, I'll probably take a week vacation, or a week or two vacation a year. And because I'm, very, uh, because I'm able to budget my money very well, I can afford to take a more expensive vacation than really what other people with my income would be taking. Because in the U.S., a lot of people spend more than they need, so they kind of spend without thinking. and can cause problems. But yeah, so do you guys have any like theme parks?
Oh, um, we have like, I'm so out of date because the last time I was in a major city, it's probably like 10, 11, 12 years ago. But I haven't
Yeah,
been to a theme park in about 20 years. So we only have them in places like
yeah,
Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Durban, three of the major cities.
yeah,
But no, we don't. You see, that is why I like America so much, because that sort of thing appeals to me so much, where we don't have it in South Africa unless you can travel to these big cities. And that is also purely only for the wealthy. It is incredibly expensive to get in, and
yeah,
to enjoy your day, you're going to need a couple of $1,000. But they are here, but they are nothing like the US. Like, we don't have water parks and all of that. I think we have two water parks in the whole of South Africa. So we just don't have those sort of things. We have
mm,
cruises, which would love to go on. That's my biggest dream, is to go on a cruise, but they go from like Cape Town and Durban, but it's your other cruise ships, like the ones that come out of America and that. So yeah, not much fun to be had here.
yeah. Well, I mean, we've got. I don't really go to any uh, theme parks in my state. Um, we've got Dollywood, and I've been there, and that one's good. But usually where I go once a year up to Santa Claus, Indiana, and they've got Holiday World, and it's got four. Yeah, I think five. I think now. No, four. I think it's got four roller coasters, like big roller coasters. Um, then they've got the swings, where it takes you up in the air and swings you around. They've got they've got a section for the Fourth of July holiday, and that one's got all of your like carnival rides. Um, and then uh, and then they've got the Splashing Safari section of their park, and that's a water park, and they've got a wave pool, a couple of water rides. Um, so I usually go there once a year, and I'm not sure if I'll go this year because the coronavirus. It may not be open, or when it does open, it might be too packed. I'm not going to pay, a couple hundred to go up to a theme park and then be waiting
Oh
in
yeah,
line all day.
definitely.
Because that's why I don't go to like Disney World or a place like that. One, Disney World's way overpriced. I mean, it's for the amount that you can do there, um, because of how populated it is. You spend so much time sitting in the line. It's just
Have
not
you ever
worth it.
been to Disney World?
But I do. I went there when I was really young, but the only thing I remember is um, not being able to keep up with my family. So like they were walking away, and I was like falling behind, and I was like, "Hey guys, wait up!" And that was all I remember. So I don't remember anything else really about it. Um, so, but I haven't been in a long time. Uh, but usually I go up to Holiday World, which is 3 hour drive, something like that. So I can drive up there early, drive up there early in the morning, and then stay there all day and get back. I don't know, 1 a.m. in the morning here. Uh, but so it's a decent amount away, to where I can't get like a
Yeah.
season pass, but it's not too far to where I have to stay there overnight. Um, but yeah, it's like $40 a person, and then while you're there, you got to pay for food, which I don't know, you're probably looking at like $20 a person for food. And then the good thing is they have free drinks. So they've got drink stands throughout the entire park where you can go in and get free drinks, and they've got water, Gatorade, and then Pepsi sodas. So Mountain Dew, Pepsi, I think orange soda and stuff like that. Which I'm like,
Is that
sheesh,
like,
that's a
like in
plus.
a cup,
I'll take
or is
that.
it in a tin, or do you have to take your own glass or your own?
So they've got these like six. Well, they're probably like 8 ounce cups. They got these small cups that they paper cups that they have at the drink stand. You just fill those up and then go to wherever you're at. But you could buy a container or get a container. Bring a container with you that you could fill up. But they do have small paper cups there.
Okay. You see, now that would never
Um,
work here in South Africa. It would be stolen, or somebody would just stand there for 20 hours and drink all the cool drink, or put it in a 20-liter drum and go resell it or something.
well, I mean, I don't know exactly how it I don't know exactly how it works other than it's America and this is, I guess, the land of free refills. So,
Your safety then,
um,
like, do you have to
I mean,
lock your house in the night? Do you, do you have to lock?
usually when I go out, I don't lock my door.
I can't believe that. I found that, yeah, that is unbelievable.
Now, when I go down to um, Rivergate or Nashville, and the closer you get to Nashville and the surrounding areas, I start to lock my door in my car more often because there are people in Rivergate and Madison who go through cars and will steal things out of cars and stuff. So I do usually lock my car when I go down there. But pretty much anywhere else, the yeah, it's not a very high crime area.
I think you would get an absolute shock if you had to come to South Africa. Yeah.
And I don't know, and I am in a smaller city, and we don't have a lot of crime. I know more people are locking their doors here than they were 10, 20 years ago. And I think a lot of it is just the amount of news that people get. People hear about crimes more often now than they used to. But I used to ride around the city on my bike, and I'd leave my bike at the park, and just I just leave it there, sitting up somewhere. I wouldn't lock it up to anything, or I'd leave it somewhere in the city, walk around somewhere, and then come back and wouldn't be stolen. Um, which I kind of surprised me a bit even at the time. But I've also had my bike stolen. The only time I've had my bike really stolen is when it's been at my house. So when I was probably 12, someone stole my bike from our shed. We never found it. Stole mine and my brother's bike. And then just a month or two ago, someone stole my wife's bike from our back porch, and they took it and drove it down or rode it down to the elementary school down the road. And then someone posted, and they just left it there, and someone posted on the town's Facebook page saying, "Hey, whoever's bike this is, come pick it up. It's been sitting here for a couple days." And we went by, and we drove my wife's car, which we really should have drove my car because we could have fit the bike in my car, or at least on top of my car. But we got down there, and I rode the bike back home, and she drove the car. But so occasionally bikes do get stolen, and there's occasionally break-ins at houses, but it's so far and few between.
What kind of car do you drive in America?
I drive a 2010 Ford Escape, so it's an SUV. I'd say a mid-size SUV.
And your wife?
And my wife has a 2011 Toyota Corolla. Yeah, they've both got almost. Hers has a little over. Does hers have 200,000 on it? Yeah, hers has a little over 200,000 miles on it, and mine's got like 180,000 or 190,000 miles. So they're getting up there in miles on them. So they've got quite a few miles, but I think her car we paid $4,500 for, and my car I paid like $5,500 for.
Okay, and all the cars they're automatic?
Yeah, most of them. If it's a manual, you can get it for cheaper. So you can get it like if you had $1,500, you could get a good manual car.
Can you drive it?
So a little over $1,000, and you can. I can't drive manual. I'd say the vast majority of Americans don't know how to drive a manual car, just because almost all the cars here are automatic, and then and most of the time when I'm driving, I've got my cruise control set, so it just the car automatically maintains my speed for me.
And when can we expect more YouTube videos from you?
I'm not really sure when I can make another video. I would imagine it'd be soon. It's just kind of whenever I get the inspiration to post something that I think would be informative and help others, or help people feel not so alone. But yeah, so just whenever I get around to coming up with an idea like that. Hello, Ticking Along here. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. I appreciate your time. If you would like to get further into the community, please feel free to join the Ticking Along Facebook page. You'll have to answer a few questions before being let in, but as soon as you answer those, I'll be sure to accept your request. If you want more content like this, please be sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment or review on the podcast apps. Thank you. It's very appreciated, and it really helps out the podcast. Bye.